want to show you guys one more method in the normal mapping process. So in this method, we're going to disregard our low polygon model and stick right with the high polygon model that we created in the previous lesson. And this is going from high poly to low poly. So you can see we have our screws and we have all the kind of good topology that we had going on there. So you can kind of see all that good stuff. So in this case, I'm going to use this as a shell or a reference, as you can see, in efforts to, and I've locked it down using the R button, in efforts to model around it. So I'm going to create a polygon plane, or a cube I should say, and when I get it close to the same size, which is about roughly right there, I'll turn the visibility off, go to my modeling menu, and let's run a mesh bevel, and let's add some bevel. So I'm going to put 0.03, and just a couple segments will do. 0.02, there we go, perfect. All right, when we get that portion done, it's actually pretty simple from this standpoint. I'm going to add a few divisions, and I usually add, actually just tore off my menu. I usually add a couple hitting the G key just to make it safe. And at this point, I don't even need to extrude. So if I look at this, I tend to make it just a little smaller. So you can see it kind of is just kind of cutting through, and we'll talk about that in a second why we did that. So you can see my high poly mesh is just slightly bigger. And what I'll do is go to my rendering menu, lighting and shading, and I'll set up, let me reset these settings here, my low poly, and I'll set up my high poly. Go to normal map, and we will do a, I guess a targa, or a TIFF I should say, and we'll call it select me, so I know to grab it later. And I will go ahead and change everything to 512 by 512, high space and mental array tab, just like we did in the previous lessons. And now here's the interesting part. I'm going to turn on my envelope, and this envelope I want to make sure that it's just big enough. 3.8 seems to be a pretty decent number to encompass everything we have. And I'm going to go down to advanced options and set it to, in this case, inside and outside the envelope, and I'm going to change it to surface normals. Now let's see if this works right off the bat. So we're going to run our process, and what we want to see is just the basic structure shown. So it's searching inside and outside my envelope currently, and I may need to adjust that envelope size, but let's see what we get from here. We'll pull this out, and you can see, let me turn the wireframe unshaded off, we actually get some okay detail. This was actually coming through where the envelope wasn't showing, so you can see the envelope wasn't exactly going all the way out. So let's go back and rebake that real quick. This time let's add maybe an envelope of 4, actually maybe even higher, maybe 4.6, keep going. 7 is going to be way too high, so let's go down, and we kind of work our way down, and you'll see right when you get it, looks like 6.6 may be the magic number, one more percent, 0.7. I'm looking for all the little corners and edges, and this is all again in efforts to get it as close as possible. 6.99, 7 looks good. Let's run it with 7, and hopefully that should fix the edge issues that we were receiving. It takes a few seconds, but it's well worth the wait. There we go. Let's see if we have any edge issues anymore. We do not. We actually have some really nice edges. Now here's a little trick. Alright, now if I render this, I'm rendering in hardware. Software will look actually kind of a little better in this case. But what I want to do, and I'll keep it in hardware here, is I want to amplify my normal map. This is okay, but I want to do more. So let me show you a little trick. Alright, so if we have our select me TIFF, and here it is, and we drag that normal map into our Photoshop program, and let me delete some of these previous files, and I'm going to duplicate this layer by hitting Command J, And I'm going to set the layer to vivid light. And I'm going to hit Command J one more time, and maybe even another time. I'm going to then go and flatten my image. So we'll merge, or flatten image I should say. And what this is going to do is it's going to amplify your normal map. So you can see it's already a little sharper. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll do select me. And we'll go ahead and save. Make sure we got it in there. Looks good to me. Give it a few seconds. So now it's a lot more amplified. And I'm going to go into my program here, and I'm going to go to my attribute editor. Now, first I'll delete my history. This will make this a little easier. But I want to find the shader called Lambert 3. And in Lambert 3, I want you to find the word bump mapping. Go next to bump mapping, hit your window, and hit reload. And all of a sudden, with the reloaded texture, notice what it did? It amplified the data. And so now it looks a little bit better. We're not getting complete depth like we would in normally, but when we go to render it, we definitely get a little bit more of a kind of the original shape we were looking for here. So that's kind of a neat kind of function. If we darken it, you can kind of see the items at work there. And that's a really good way to do low to poly. Now at this point I can make this slightly bigger, obviously to kind of match the size, because once the normal map's baked, you got nothing really to worry about. So that's a quick little lesson on doing the high poly to the low poly. And you can see you bake actually pretty decent shadows that way. And in addition, this is a good way to use Photoshop as well as your blending modes, in this case vivid light, in efforts to get a higher dimension normal map, or a higher sharpness of a normal map. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'll see you for the next one.